Hi, Susan. Hi, Alan. Hi, Lonnie.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
And yes,
So I know that it's cold, a little chilly, and Lonnie had given me a few things that she would like. Anything, Alan and Susan, that you would like in particular?
No,
No.
No?
no.
Well then. We're going to concentrate a little bit on balance.
Good.
And I think, let me see this again. I thought it was shoulders and hips and shoulder stretches.
Well, shoulder's good.
Okay. So let's start seated. And we'll work right away on the hips a little bit. So as you start seated, I still have my socks on. I don't want to take them off, but you're just going to get into a comfortable place. It almost feels like a little lazy. You can take your arms behind you and you're just going to feel that you can just kind of shrug your shoulders a little bit. So your shoulders are not involved here. It's basically just opening up the hips. So as wide as you can get your leg, they don't have to be as wide as mine. They can even be right like this. You're just going to, actually, let's do this. Let's just fold one leg over the other. And Alan, if you can move the camera so I can see you, that would be helpful. It's totally your call. There we go. So here, you're just moving the leg. You're trying to that this leg get as far away from this leg as possible before that leg goes. So the leg opens, and you want to open and then close. So we're just sort of warming up. So this warms up your hips. It warms up your lower back. There's no real way that you have to do this. I'm just suggesting that you get to the place where the legs are as far apart as they can be, and then you can close. But you don't have to do that. If it feels better just to rock over the hips, you do that. But if you can, see if you can open, because it's a whole different thing when you do that. And then let yourself come down onto your forearms. So this might get into your shoulders, and if that's the case, then go all the way down. But if you can be here, you're going to feel the rib cage drop down, and you're kind of looking up and over. You're doing the same thing. Again, this might be too much on the head, neck, and shoulders, so go all the way down if that doesn't feel right. Actually, this is a little different. My feet are wider, right? And now my one leg is turning in and out. And now the beauty of this is you can go all the way down if you're not already there. And so now you're down. You're going to do the same thing with your legs. And notice it's just a little easier to do it here. There isn't that same restriction that you have while you're seated. And just go with it here. You might be able to stretch the belly while you do it. Stretch your sides a little bit. And then place our feet down. So in line with your sit bones, like you're going to do a bridge. I just want you to be here a moment and then just kind of move around on your hips. You might want to arch and curl a little bit like a cat-cow just in your hips. So you can feel that the low back lifts off the mat and then it presses back down on the mat. And you're going to use this kind of rocking and rolling exercise to begin to do your bridge. So you start to do your bridge, you press down on your feet and you just lift the hips and slide the hips up. So this is a good way to move around through the hips. And then you're going to take your spine down, the hips will follow. You're going to do that a couple of times, but so rock and roll a little bit so you just feel that feeling, and then use that to roll up with. And then down. You'll notice the back of your legs start to activate. That's a good thing. We do it one more time. So don't forget this rocking and rolling a little bit. And Susan, keep your inner thighs a little bit more engaged so that legs don't go out to the side. And now you're going to roll up. And then do you notice, hopefully the back of the legs are actually firing a little bit to hold you up there and just opening up the front of the hips. And then you're going to take your spine down. So you should feel a little bit freer in your spine and your hips. So just let your hips relax. Let's take a stretch and stretch the legs out. So now the hips are not flexed, so that should feel good. You're just going to kind of maybe rock the hips a little bit. You can stretch, full body stretch. And then we're going to work our shoulders a little bit. So I'm going to ask that you roll over carefully onto your side. Let's come into our hands and knees. So just a little bit of a cat-cow, and then we'll open the shoulders a little bit. So here, up to you, but I like to pad my knees here a little bit. And then I'm going to ask that you do this coming forward, opening up the front of the hips, almost like a plank. And then you're going to go backward, curl the toes, and find an arched spine. That's a shoulder stretch right there. And then you're coming forward in your plank, opening the front of the hips, drop the top of the feet down, and then curl your spine back. And keep doing that. You'll notice the hips open and then they crease. And when you come into this arch, most of us are going to get a shoulder stretch. I feel it. Do you feel it? A little bit? Yeah. So keep coming forward and backward. It's good to just get the spine to move a little forward and backward. And each time you go backward, you're finding a shape that you like. So we're going to do it one more time. You're going to come forward and backward. You're going to end in your curl. And you're going to take your arms behind you. So now my hands are holding my heels. And I'm in this little rabbit pose. I'm really trying to get my nose in toward my knees. The back of my neck is lengthening. If you want to try to lift your heels, or your hips away from your heels, that's rounding your spine even more. Now go ahead and slide your hands in front of you. Come forward onto your belly. So when you're on your belly, this is called a prone position, you're going to bend the left arm. So my left arm looks like this. It's kind of, a half of a log. So here, and then my right arm's going to go out to the side in a high V, and I'm going to take my forehead on my left hand. So I'm going to move this right arm around. I'm going to windshield wiper it. I'm going to come, it's almost a half circle I'm making. Taking the hand down to my hip and then out to the side and to the front. Just moving it around. I can also move it around with a bent elbow. Kind of making a circle. Just moving it around. Then I'm going to place that hand. I'm going to replace the other hand. So now I have my right forearm parallel to my top of my mat. My left arm is going to go out on a diagonal in a V. I'm going to stay here for a moment. Make sure both of your front of your hips are equally placed on the mat. Do the same thing with this left arm. Swing it down by your hip and swing it back up. If you want to make it a circle, you can bend the elbow and go around in a circle. You're just creating some movement. Keep the belly in. Now, rest your head on your folded hands and wiggle around in your hips. Now, this might not be the best placement for your shoulders, So if you need to take your hands underneath your shoulders or down by your side with the palms facing down, you decide. I think I'll take mine underneath my shoulders and shrug my shoulders. We're going to open up the hips a little bit here. Your head stays down or it can hover, but there's no back bend, except that you can pull the shoulder blades together a little bit. Now really curl the tailbone just a tiny bit and engage your abdominals. You're going to lift one leg while the other one presses down. And then that leg goes down and the other leg lifts up. Now you have to keep shrugging the shoulders down, but you're stretching your legs so long out of the hip that it lifts. Then it presses down as the other one lifts. How are you doing with this? It's okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, now take both feet down. You're going to very carefully come back into child's pose. So now the knees are wide. And you're going to take your seat as close to your feet as you can. And then stretch your spine, stretch your hips, stretch your shoulders. Let your head go down and breathe here. So you breathe into the side of your ribs, the back of the ribs, the front of the ribs. You just breathe. Big, deep, full breaths. And we'll take a side bend here. So you're going to walk your hands over to the right and take them to the left. Take your right hand on top of your left. Now drop your head, neck, and shoulders in case you're holding tension there. Just let that go, but pull the belly in. Make sure your right hip is dropping down toward your right heel. Breathe. Come back to the center, find the center. And then both arms over to the right, and your left hand tries to reach on top of the right hand. It may not reach, it's okay. Try to keep the left hip down toward the left heel. Let your head, neck, and shoulders relax. We often hold our head up. Let your head drop if you possibly can. Now you're going to bring your arms back to the center and then walk your hands to your knees. And we're going to find a little squat, our first squat. So the feet go out to the side of the mat. And you're just going to try to sit down between your legs. So this is often a good place for some elevation for your seat. So I put a block there. Sometimes that's not enough. I have to put 2 blocks there. But you're basically looking like this, trying to press your arms into your legs. And, you know, this is uncomfortable for us, but a lot of the world sits like this and they're fine. So, all right, it's just for a moment. I'm just trying to preoccupy you. Breathe. Now you'll come onto your knees again. So back where you were. This time you're going to rise up on your knees. So now you're all the way up. We're trying to keep this nice and open right here. So the energy is lifted, and you're not creasing, but you're not overdoing this either. You're just kind of opening it up. So here is where our shoulder stretch comes. So in order to prepare for our shoulder stretch, just go ahead and hook your thumbs behind you and then drop your shoulders down. And then see if you can draw the elbows closer together. Don't try to squeeze your shoulder blades together so much. Just try to pull your elbows together and that will widen your collarbone. Everybody okay with this? Yes? Yes. While you're here, pull the belly in and up. And then if it feels okay, don't let go of what's happening here, but if it feels okay, lift your chest and find a back bend. Just a little one so that you can feel how your shoulders open. So now the front of your chest is stretching. So that's one way to stretch the shoulders. And then we'll come back to neutral. Take your arms and just dangle them. Bring your arms up overhead if it feels all right to do that. I know you can't see me, but my arms are over my head. And I'm going to curl down I'm going to try to keep my hips from falling backward. My hips are coming forward. It's a balance challenge. And then I'm going to take my hands down. And so I'm on hands and knees, right? So my butt isn't back here. It's right on top of my knees. And what I'm going to do here is keep my butt up. And I'm going to try to walk my hands out in front of me and drop my chest down. So this is a top of the shoulder stretch. If this is too much for you, and it is for me, I bend one of my elbows and put my forearm down like I did while I was lying down on my belly. And I take my other arm out to the side. My forehead rests on my hand. And this is a different kind of shoulder stretch, but do what you need to do. Everybody okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's important. Now come back so that both hands are underneath both shoulders and your hips are on top of your knees again. So before we go to the other side, just do another little hip opening of circling the hips around in one direction. Keep breathing. And the other. So yoga is about noticing, right? Paying attention to what you're feeling. Going in both directions, getting what you need, opening where you need to open. Remember what you're doing here, because I want you to do this in a plank later on. Right, so get some of the rest of your body involved, not just your hips. See if you can move your ribs around in the circle. So everything is moving, the bones are moving around. And then rise again onto your knees. I think it helps to have the top of the feet down and to press your shins down here sometimes to get that action of the butt in the back. And then you're gonna bring your arms up. Here's a back bend if you want it. And now you're going to, like a big sea monster, you're gonna go down. You're curling, curling, curling. You're gonna hit that hands and knees place. But then you're gonna keep your arms walking out, sliding out. Your hips are right over your knees. They're not behind them. Now I get to here, I drop my chin down, my chest down. It's so hard. It's such a big stretch for me that I have to bend my right elbow, take my hand on my arm and reach my left arm out to the side and then keep dropping my ribs down. That's how I get this stretch. So I feel this stretch is a shoulder stretch. Belly still in. Ooh, take a breath. Walk that hand back so that you're safe in your shoulders and come onto your seat and face me. How was that? That's the best shoulder stretch that I can muster because this shoulder stretch like this drives me crazy. I can't do that yet. My shoulders are still pretty tight. So there's, when we stretch our arm back, you can try this. When actually put your arms in goalpost and then stretch your elbows back. And what you feel is this stretch across here, right? Yeah. And then when we were doing the other one, it's a stretch across here. So you have to think of the whole thing being stretched. So let's just do some shoulder shrugs. Oh boy. And now we're going to open and close the ribs. So I'm going like this, I'm curling, and then I'm opening. So these are shoulder stretches too, right? You're stretching the top of your shoulders. And here you're stretching the front of your shoulders. You're stretching the back of your shoulders. So I never really thought of it like this, but this really is a shoulder stretch. All right, so let's come to a standing position. So however you get there. Just gonna stand and face forward. And then find this nice openness at the front of your hips. So we are sitting usually most of the day, and we're always flexing our hip. It's not a bad thing, but we also want to extend at the hip too. So we're just going to do a little exercise that does that, and it's a balancing exercise. How good is that? So when you're here, you just want to feel that your toes are spread and that you could stay here for a while. It's not a forced feeling. So the knees are a little relaxed, your hips are a little relaxed, your tailbones drop, the belly pulls in and up, shoulders are relaxed. And then I just want you to stay here, take your hands to heart center, maybe close your eyes, and just notice where you're holding some tension. Maybe you need to let the shoulders go. Maybe you need to let the knees go a little bit. How do your ankles feel? Are you on the inside and the outside of your foot, or have you rolled out to the outside? Can you breathe deeply and fully? And then go ahead and open your eyes and take your arms down by your side, palms face out. So this is mountain pose. And what we're going to do is just be on one leg, just like this. So I'm going to ask you to stand. I'm going to stand on my left leg, so you could stand on your left leg as well. I'm not going to mirror you. And you're going to bring your right knee up. You can hold on to the knee because it gives you some stability to do that. And we're not going to frustrate you, so we're just going to put that one down. Find 2 to 1. That's all you're doing. So you found your center in 2. It shifts a little bit to 1. You're just going to keep alternating. But this is what we do when we're marching in place. We just are doing it more slowly. So pick it up a little, pick the pace up a little bit, right? This is really all you're doing. You have to shift your weight every time. And then just say to yourself, well, I think I'll just hold it a little bit longer. Yeah. Not so bad, right? Now, just go ahead and take your legs a little wider. And you're just going to start to hip hinge. So we're going to do triangle pretty early on today. And triangle has this hip crease right here and a hip stretch here. So if you think about some of these postures as stretches, right, maybe it will be a bit more manageable for you because you'll know that it's good for you to stretch. And you're just going to add a side bend to this stretch, so you could bring your arm up and side bend and side bend. If it doesn't work to have your arm do that, just don't do it. I like these arms too. Like this is, I'm a little teapot arms. You're opening up the ribs here, opening up the ribs, and just maybe even close your eyes to see where your alignment is. Your shoulders are right over your hips. You're not forward or backward. Now, come on up, make your position into a left facing warrior 2. So it's pretty wide. Yeah, shoulders are right over your hips. And then bring your arms out, relax your shoulders and look over the left middle finger. And then we'll find a side bend here. So you're going to reverse your warrior. And this is your side bend to your right. Neck needs to be comfortable. You're going to come back. And then this time, straighten both legs. Triangle here. You're hinging here. This left arm goes down, right arm up. If you want to, if that doesn't work, then you can, take your arms down. But basically, it's this shape. You see the triangle of your legs. You see the triangle of the arm to the shoulder to your torso. And then if you want to, you add this and you look up. And then come back to warrior 2. And then just go ahead and straighten both legs and turn the toes to face forward. And we'll do our forward fold here. So our hips are nice and open. And if you want to add a little back bend here, I'm going to take my thumbs and hook them again. And I'm going to add my back bend. And then I'm going to take my hands on my hip crease and I'm going to come forward. I'm creasing at my hips. My toes all face forward. I'm going down as far as I can. I may not be able to touch the floor. That's okay. What I'm trying to do is fold at my hips and my lower back is flat. So try to keep the weight in the front of the feet as well as the back. You'll just notice that the tendency is to go into your heels. Take your hands a little bit more in front of you than you would normally do. And notice that is a wide-legged down dog. And then I'm moving my hips around in a circle because I can. Because I've got a lot of hip mobility now. They're not tight. I can move them around. And then walk your hands back underneath your torso. Now flatten out your back. So this is a nice long spine. Make sure you're not locking your knees just for stability. Take your hands to your hips with a flat back, rise back up. Now we're going to review everything that we just did before we do triangle and warrior two on the other side. So what we did was you can take your feet a little bit more narrow and you're just gonna do this thing again. Yeah, do you feel it as a stretch of your hips?
A little bit.
Yeah, so I never did until I realized I really have a tight hip. And so this feels like a stretch now. But at first it was just like, no, I'm just kind of gone from side to side. But now I do feel it as a stretch. But keep the body stretching. And then if you want to, add your side bend. So we're adding our side bend in. Our neck is easy. It's just coming along for the ride. Your ear goes to your shoulder. The belly's in. You're between two panes of glass, so you're not going forward or backward. Make sure you're not locking your knees. Everything's nice and loose and just able to kind of side bend. And then we're going to take our legs a little wider. And we're going to do our warrior two on the right side. So the right foot, the right heel, and the left arch line up. It's a little longer than you're comfortable doing, but it'll be okay. And then make sure your right knee goes right over your right heel and send your arms out. Try not to lean forward or backward yet. You're right on top of yourself. And then you're going to look. So your eyes turn, your neck turns towards your right hand, and you're going to flip your palm and find a side bend here. So don't change that right knee, it stays where it is. It's just your spine that's changing. Pull the belly in, come back, straighten that front leg. Now we're going into triangle. Some people like to shorten this up. You know, warrior two is usually a little wider than triangles. You decide. And now you're just going to hinge that right hip underneath the left. So you're trying to get the hips to be stacked on top of one another. My mat is not slip or sticky anymore. It's slippery instead. So I need a new mat. Just in time. So here you go. You're between two panes of glass. Don't lean forward. See if you can open the chest and lean back almost. If this bothers your arms, they just go down, but this is the shape of your spine. Now you're going to come up, find your warrior two again, because we can. So now you're going to cartwheel, frame your right foot. And now square off your hips and drop your back knee. So that will be your left knee that drops. And then you're just going to rock backward and forward. This is a good way to open the hips. We do this almost every week, right? You get a nice psoas stretch, a nice hamstring stretch. You're trying to keep your hips right in the middle of this movement. So try not to get your one hip to go forward or backward. They're both. Usually the right hip here needs to go back and the left hip needs to go forward to keep them in good alignment. Now we'll add a twist here. So take your back foot down, your left foot down. Take your left hand inside of your right foot and then twist the rib cage open to the right. Lift that arm up if you can. You'll get a nice shoulder stretch if you take that arm, right, that hand wanders around, you bend the elbow, and you try to find the front of the left hip. That'll give you a good shoulder stretch. Pull the belly in. Breathe. Now go ahead and make your way back to that crescent lunge with a low lunge. Lift your back knee and begin to rock forward and backward again. Opening up the hips. Everybody's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now drop that back knee down and take this right leg, this right foot out to the right so that both hands are inside of that right foot. This is lizard lunge. So you can stay here a moment because lizard lunge is really a good hip opener. So you want your right hand and your right foot kind of right next to each other here. And so if you can see, I have my right arm and right leg almost right next to each other. Now I'm going to lift my back knee, and this might be a big enough stretch for you, or, because see, it's a hip stretch of the back leg too, or you can walk down and have the forearms down. They could be on a block to get that done. How you doing? Do you need to see this? Anybody? Ellen? So with my forearms down on a block, I can go like this. But that's still a huge stretch for me. So also be careful. You can also put this left knee back down, but if you do, maybe you won't get the stretch in the front of the hip here. But also try not to sag in your hip. So this is sagging. Keep that nice and firm here. Either way, drop the back knee down. Now this is tricky. You're going to take this right leg and it's going to swing around. And that right knee is going to be behind the left knee. And you're going to sit back in this really awkward child's pose. But it'll give you a good stretch. It feels like a figure 4 stretch. Now sit all the way down. Trust me on this, sit all the way down. Your right leg is going to cross over your left knee. So you're kind of like this. And then you're just going to get a stretch in that right hip. So if you can, you're going to cradle your leg. If this is too much of a stretch, you put your left leg straight and you do this. If not, you can bend the knee. Are you guys okay?
Yep.
So you're going to cradle, and you're just going to kind of open and close the leg. I'm opening both legs and I'm shutting both. And I'm opening and shutting. So I'm basically moving that leg around in the hip socket, which is how you're going to get nice and a little bit less tight. And then let's bring both legs and just shake it all out. Yay! All right, let's go on our hands and knees again. But I'm going to face this way this time. So hands and knees, always a good place to start. And what we'll do here is come into a down dog. So your first down dog. Press down with your hands, curl your toes, lift up with your hips. And here you are in your down dog. So pedal it out. This is a good time to stretch those legs. Relax your shoulders. Drop your shoulder blades down. Make some space in between where your neck and shoulders are in the front there. Say yes and no with your head. And then you're going to lift. I think it's your right leg now. Left leg has to lift. Now look toward the top of the mat. Bend your left knee. Place your foot between your hands. drop your back knee down, and then we're rocking. So we're back where we were in this low lunge, but now you're on the other side. Are you on the other side?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. That's always important. So as you do this, you're opening up the hips, but now it's a little different than just moving your leg around. Now you're moving your spine around your leg. You're basically moving your hips around your leg. Breathe. Make sure there's ease in your shoulders. Now we'll take our twist here. So you're going to drop the right foot down. You'll take your right hand down and you'll twist your rib cage to the left. And remember, this could be a shoulder stretch here. If you bend your left elbow and swing that hand around to try to find the front of your right hip, you see how that will open the shoulder a little. Now, go ahead and frame your left foot. Lift your back knee. So you're going to curl the toes, lift your back knee, and now you're in a high lunge that you can rock forward and backward in. And here, it's nice to have blocks. I love blocks, by the way. If you put your blocks here, it just makes it so much more friendly. Because you're already getting a stretch. And here again, let that left hip go a little backward, right hip goes a little forward to keep your hips in good alignment. Use your breath in your belly always. Relax your shoulders. Now drop the back knee down. And here we're coming into our lizard lunge. So you're going to take both hands on the inside of the left leg. You could stay right here. This is plenty, right? Or you could curl the toes and lift the back knee off. You could stay right here. Or you could maybe take blocks underneath your elbows and come on down. So much work. Relax your head, neck, and shoulders. If I think about the legs, it helps me think about how this is supposed to be, because I can imagine a bug that has legs like this and is bending like this. Drop the back knee down and then come back up onto your, frame that left foot. And forgive me because I can't remember exactly what we did afterward. I think we might have just, Lonnie, do you remember it all?
Not even close.
It's okay. We'll be all right. Let's go ahead and have a seat and reassess this whole situation. Oh, because I remember now. It was our figure 4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't panic anymore. I just know either it's never going to come back or it comes back. So now your right leg is long. You're just going to cross your left ankle over the right thigh. And that's all going to be recorded, by the way. My boo-boo. All right. And that's okay. So you're going to bend this right knee because right away you might feel a stretch right here. And that might be enough, then get used to that. Or you can cradle this leg. This leg is going to go out and in, and out and in, and out and in. One more. Good. Let's go ahead and bring both legs out and bring them into your, I love the name of this, Supta Baddha Konasana. And then notice that that's so much like this, right? It's just the result. So we want both. We want to be able to rotate, but you also want to be able to open. All right, so now let's go on to the belly. Just slide onto your belly. We'll just do a few back strengtheners here. And then we're going to put it all into a vinyasa. So when you're on your belly, there's a whole lot of hip opening here, right? So I would suggest that you make sure your low back is long. That might mean you have to curl the tailbone. It does mean you're going to have to use a lot of belly. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders, shrug your shoulders. Get some back muscle engaged and contracting by drawing the shoulder blades together a little bit. I don't like the word squeeze, so I'm just going to ask that you draw the tip, the bottom tip of the shoulder blades together just a little bit. Engage your legs, engage your arms, and then all you'll have to do is travel your spine forward and up. And you're going to travel your spine forward and down, and you're going to do that several times. I'm going to come back and look at you if I can see you. It's not about, nice, Lonnie. It's not about shoving your neck back. It's about reaching long and letting the back muscles lift and open your chest. Keep your elbows close to your ribs. That'll help, right? Because that'll help you not use your shoulders. You'll have to use your back muscles more. Do you feel that, Lonnie, at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard not to use your shoulders here, but you're forced to use your back muscles to lift and open your chest. That looks great. Now go ahead down and take your arms down by your side with your palms facing down. And then take a moment here, just turn your head from one side to the other. And this could be either neck tension or shoulder tension, but it's a good idea just to find this movement. And then find the center of the mat with your nose. Engage the belly. So important to engage your belly when you're on your belly. And now you're going to press down with your hands and press down with your feet. And then see if you can shrug your shoulders. So lift the shoulders off the mat. And this could be plenty. This is so good for me. I can so feel all the work. If I lift a little bit higher, I'm not in a back bend, but if I lift my head higher, it's more work. If I reach my arms so long that they lift off the mat, that's more work. And then if I lift my legs, that's a lot of work. We're just going to try to do whatever we can here. And you're going to take 3 breaths. So you have to keep fine tuning, keep reaching long. At the end of your last breath there, take your hands underneath your forehead, and rather than give this up into a child's pose, you're going to bend the knees and windshield wiper your legs. Nice. Keep going. Keep breathing. Keep releasing your shoulders. So we have Sphinx posture to do. So I'd like you to bring your arms out in front of you on your forearms. So spread your fingers so there's a lot of weight equally into your fingers. And then I like to curl my tailbone a little bit, pull my belly way in. It's almost like I'm doing an ab curl here, but I'm not. But I have that much engagement of my abdominals. And then I'm going to reach my head, neck, and shoulders forward. I'm going to use my back muscles, those tips of the shoulder blades, to contract a little toward one another to lift and open my chest. So my shoulders are not overworking, right? Ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Yeah? All right
Yeah.
then. So our hips should be pretty open here. And what I'm going to ask you to do is bend the right knee and look toward it with your eyes. Without dropping your head, though. Yeah. And then come back to the center. So don't drop your head to look, just twist. You might have to twist a little from the rib cage or from your belly button. And then come back. Everybody okay in your low back? Gotta keep the belly in, otherwise it'll hurt. And you also are squeezing your low butt muscles a little bit. And now change it up. Look to the right, but bend your left foot and see if you can find your left foot. It's a little different, right? Yeah. I know, I can't see mine. I know it's there somewhere. And then come back, keep the belly in, relax your shoulders. So much to think about. Bending your right knee. You're going to turn to the left. Avoid looking down. Whoa. Come back to the center. Now, a well-deserved child's pose. Slowly, though. Slowly. And breathing. So if you can, just compare this child's pose with the ones that we did in the beginning. You know, is it a little bit more relaxed? My head is now a little able to get closer to the floor than before. Now you're going to go ahead and round yourself back up so your seat is on your feet. And then we're going to do a vinyasa. So you're going to come to, when you can, a down dog. So our vinyasa is going to be a very moving vinyasa. It's going to be very fluid. So first you find this down dog that has the sit bones reaching high, the heels reaching low, the shoulders relaxed, the head and the neck shoulders relaxed. The side body is nice and long, so you want to think about your side body here. So you're going to rise up onto the balls of the feet and you're going to curl forward into your plank. So this is really our first plank, and I want you to feel it. So when you're in your plank, I promised you that we were going to move the hips a little bit. So I want you to move your whole body around a little bit. A lot of work on the arms, a lot of work on the core. Not easy. You might want to even slide into a side plank. Notice how you're getting that done. It's not just with your legs, your whole torso has to rotate. Then when you're finished, and you may be finished way sooner than you're going to drop your knees, your chest, stretch those shoulders, your chin, and then find your back bend. It should be very satisfying, I hope. And then come down. And then sit back into child's pose. Pass maybe through all fours first, and then sit down into child's pose. We're going to do that whole thing one more time. You know, I never used to do that, and I used to hate it when somebody would say it. But the second time around, always like got it into my body better. So that's why I'm doing it now. Sort of like practice. You can't just play the piano, that one little piece. The second time around is different. So go ahead and find your down dog. So another way to open the hips, Lonnie, is let's lift our right leg and then stack the hips and then bend the knee and make circles of that leg and the hip. Make sure that you're not collapsing in your upper body. Both arms are straight. You're still looking between your arms. Actually, I'm looking at the back leg. And then go ahead and put that foot down. Switch your legs. Make sure it's not in your shoulders. Your body, your whole body is doing this. Stack your hips, bend your knee, circle the leg in the hip socket. Circle the leg in the hip socket, not just the knee, not just the foot. The leg is circling. Do you feel the difference? I hope. And then put that foot down. Now you're sliding into your plank. So you're going to articulate into your plank. Now put some weight into your feet, because if not, it's all in your arms and your shoulders. So put it in your feet. Now you're going to either do a low push-up by bending the elbows, or you go knees, chest, chin. Either way, you're coming down to the mat and finding your back bend. It doesn't involve your shoulders, but involves your torso. It can involve your arms, by the way. And then let's sit back into child's pose again. Very nice. So round yourself up and face me, please. We'll do a few more stretches while we're seated. So some leg stretches. And today, we're going to try to get from down here to up there and balance and then back down again. Not sure how we're going to do it, but we'll figure it out. So bring your right leg out in front a little bit to the right, and then take your left foot and tuck it into your inner thigh area, and then sit as tall as you can. There might be some space here. If there is, it's always nice to maybe put a block there. So it's not about struggling at all, although you might feel that you are. And then shrug your shoulders. Whew. And a good part about hip tightness, not a good part, something to remember about hip tightness is the more you can get your torso up and out of your hips, the better. So if you put your hands down, mine are in little fists, and I kind of lift my hips up, I can just hang my hips down like I'm being strung from the ceiling, and that feels better. But it's really hard to keep that space on your own without your arms there. Okay, so now you're going to hinge a little to your right so that you can fold over this right leg. So it helps maybe to flex the right foot and to lengthen your lower back. You might not get very far. It's all about a flat back in your lower spine. So you're sticking your butt out to get that done. If you want to, that once you've gone as far as you can, then you can ground the head and the neck and then just relax as best you can. Keep pulling that leg into the hip socket. Keep pressing the hamstring down. And then flat back up. Bring that right leg in toward the midline, and then you'll cross the left foot over. So again, sitting as tall as you can. I take my left thumb, into this crease here, and I try to just relax that a little bit, make it crease, and then I really put my whole foot down, I flex my other foot. So I'm going to twist my torso over to my left, and I'm just going to be as tall as I can here. And I'm twisting up and around. I'm not leaning at all. My shoulders are relaxed. I do not have to have this right elbow on the other side. I can encourage it. I'm twisting through my torso. Now come back around very slowly. Feel that. And then curl down inside that open side, and then come back up, and we'll switch that out. So now the left leg goes out, not quite that far, and then the right foot comes in, and you get that nice lift of the pelvis, and you are twisting. It's just not a twist, it's a little bit of a turn over to your left, and then you're hinging forward, sticking the butt out, making sure that you're in this nice long low back. It's not about how you get you're getting all the way down. It's about maybe taking the lowest rib to your thigh and then releasing your head, neck, and shoulders when you've gone as far as you can. You can really overdo this, so don't do it. Don't overdo it. Really let your left leg pull back into the hip socket so it's really connected. And then just release and breathe. Flex that left heel. And with a flat back, you're going to come back up. And then take that left leg more toward the center. Cross the right leg over. So you might want to just stay right here and feel what this feels like, because things grab as soon as you flex here. And then press down on the right foot, flex your left. And then if you want to, you're taking that twist to the right. Avoid leaning back or over to the side, just straight up and down. Press your legs down and your hands down so that you can find that lift up. The belly, drop your shoulders, so much to think about. And breathe, make sure you can take a nice full breath always. And then come back around slowly so you can feel the ribs untwisting. And then you're going to curl. Okay, now we're going on to our back. Yay. Oh, no, we're going to stand. So noticing how you get there. There's no wrong or right way, or just noticing how you get there. And we're just going to do one more balance. We'll do a tree. You can turn your tree into dancer, or you can turn your tree into a figure 4. You can turn your tree into chair with one leg or 2 legs. I'll guide you, okay? Stand on your left leg. Remember, it's so much more than just your legs. So you've got your whole body in gear here. And then you're going to externally rotate your right leg so that you can put it into your tree, either above the knee, below the knee. Kickstand is fine. Hips are square. You can take your hands on your hips. You could take them to heart center. So you might want to just find something to look at that is not moving. Keep the belly working. Make sure you can breathe. Now, here's your thing. I'd like you to come back with that foot down and find a chair pose. So I'm just sticking my butt out here. I'm going to take my hands to heart center. And then I'm going to shrug my shoulders down to bring my arms up. I'm just going to stay here and enjoy. I'm going to bounce a little. I'm going to make sure that my knees are not forward over my toes. I can still see my toes. Now my back doesn't hurt. I can take my arms down. I can be an airplane. That feels better to me. I'm still pretty buoyant here. And then pull back up. And as soon as you can, go into tree pose on the other side. So same idea, try not to lean to the side where the leg is on the floor. Make sure you're not looking down. Although I've heard that you can look down as long as your head doesn't go down. You know, the eyes can look any way you want to. You know that from the eye doctor, right? They make you go here and have your eyes go all over the place. So we're coming out of our tree. And then you're going to find a way to lie down on your back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl down. And then I'm going to squat and slowly lower my hips down and roll all the way down. And if there's anything you need before Shavasana, please take it. That could mean that you want to rock your knees in toward your chest and make sure, that's probably a good thing to do, to make sure that your back feels okay. That's me. That's my home phone. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness. One moment. So a supine twist is great. After you've done that, you're just going to relax yourself down onto your mat. I would bend the knees first before you straighten them, just to get your spine to just relax down to the mat. And then if it feels right, you'll just take your legs long, arms down by your side, palms face up. So today we concentrated on opening the hips and opening the shoulders. So see what you feel, just let it go. Take some deep breaths first and then let that go. Let the tongue in your mouth relax. Let your jaw relax. Start to make just the tiniest little movements with your toes. Little wiggle. Now my toes are actually going around in a circle. So now my ankle is starting to move in a circle. I'm going to bend my knees slightly and let my legs move around in a circle. They're their own circle. They're going in toward one another, and then maybe they go in the opposite direction from one another. Then I'm going to hug my knees in and let that still happen. I'm still going to circle individually. My hands can be on my knees, helping me out to do that. And then drop your knees over to the right and turn over to the right so that you can pause for a moment, maybe resting your head on the pillow of your arm. Just notice how you feel. Can it be grateful that our bodies are able to do this and we've taken time to do it? We're going to be really grateful for the sporting club, all of our times there, all the wonderful people. Keeping your eyes lightly closed, go ahead and come up to a seated position, wherever it feels comfortable. If you want to sit on something, you do. If your legs don't feel comfortable cross-legged, find a position that does. And then sit tall. Move your head, neck, and shoulders around a little bit. And then take your hands to heart centers. Press your thumbs into your heart. And rock just a little forward, side, back, and side. And then the other direction. So it's just a little circle. And then with your eyes closed, are there any colors that you can see? I often see a lavender or a blue. Just noticing. And then come to stillness and take the thumbs between your eyebrows and nod your chin toward your chest. Bring your chest toward your chin. Let yourself be nice and released here. Shoulders relax, neck relax, jaw relaxes. And maybe together we can say, Namaste.